Hello dear one, and welcome to my channel. Are you into the macabre, the ghostly, the mysterious, the spiritual? If that's the case, then this may be the episode for you. I've developed this DIY craft project for all you spooky babes out there that are looking for a fun accessory. So today's project is going to be this brooch right here. Let me get up close so you can have a good gander. Okay, so I'm going to instruct you on how to make one of these today, but I'm also going to show you how to make one like this, which has paper details. This one was actually kind of inspired by the movie Practical Magic. Anyways, so these projects can, they mostly consist of items that you already have around the house, a lot of like recycled things, cardboard, paper, plastic, and also, just fabric scraps, because you don't need a whole lot of fabric to do one of these. So if all this sounds good to you, let's get started. All right, so we are going to begin by taking a piece of paper and folding it in half. And this is just scrap paper. Okay, so next we're going to trace our shape on one side because then when we cut it out, it will be a mirror image, and that's what we want. And this can be as big or small as you want it to be. Then we'll cut it out. And unfold it. That's a pretty good shape, I think. So if I hold it up here, yeah, I think that's pretty good. All right, so next we want to cut the circle in the center. So we'll just eyeball it. All right, let's take a look at that. I think that looks pretty good because when we put our message on there, we want to have enough space to see it. All right, so now that we have our planchette cut out, we're gonna go ahead and trace it onto some cardboard. Next, we cut it out with some scissors. Okay, so now that we have the shape cut out, I'm going to go ahead and cut the center using an X-Acto blade. This part's a little difficult because I'm using corrugated cardboard instead of, like your regular like cereal box cardboard. And the reason for that is because it'll make it more durable as a brooch, as an accessory. So here we go. So I'm going to start by kind of like cutting a straight line down, and you'll want to make sure that you cut through all the layers, and then I'm going to cut down this way as well. So we form kind of almost like an X. So I'll go ahead and kind of, I won't go all the way through when I'm doing my circle because I don't want it to be too choppy. But I'll just kind of keep going around it. Sometimes what I like to do is poke holes through the bottom so that you can kind of see sort of like a dotted line, which makes it easier to follow from the bottom. And then you can just pop that right out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this for the rest of them, and then we will reconvene. So now that our planchette is cut out of the corrugated cardboard, we're gonna go ahead and create sort of a strip that's gonna go on the inside just to give it a more finished look. We're not gonna attach it right away, but it'll be good to have it on hand for when we are ready to move forward with that part of the project. First, we're going to take our scrap paper that we were using, and we're going to cut a 1/4 inch across. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is we're going to take this piece of paper and we're gonna kind of put it inside the hole. And we're gonna trim the long piece. We're just gonna keep trimming it until it's perfect. Now remember, we want it to go flush up to the circle, okay, like that. And then I'm going to trim this down a little bit more, because in the end what I want is I want this little strip to be raised just slightly above that hole. It may not make sense right now, but once we do this, you'll see. Okay, looks good. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take some recycled cardboard that's, you know, a little thinner. It's more like the cereal box, tea box cardboard. And I'm going to place this little strip on here and trace it, and then cut it out. Now we're gonna sort of roll it a little bit. This is not gonna stay perfect. You will have creases in it, but that's okay because it's not gonna really jump out at you once this is fully assembled. So we want to make sure that it just fits in there flush. You see? All right, so now I'm gonna grab some wax paper and Mod Podge the image side of the cardboard, okay? So that will create a nice base coat for the black paint that we're going to add on. Now, while that strip of cardboard is drying, we are going to take some cardstock and lightly watercolor some brown paint onto it. Now, I'm not using actual watercolor paints. I'm just using acrylic paint, really, really watered down. But if you have watercolor, that works great. All right, now we don't have to paint the whole piece of cardboard. We're just painting it enough because this is going to end up being what we write our message on, that goes in the center of the planchette. My cat's playing with my window crystal. All right, so now we'll set that aside to dry. While that's drying, we're gonna go ahead and, now this is dry, because Mod Podge actually dries very fast, we're gonna go ahead and start painting this black. The whole thing, front and back. Make sure that you get the sides too, all the edges. All right, we'll set that aside to dry. We may wind up needing to do another coat. We'll see what happens. Okay, so now we're gonna use a bit of Fabri-Tac, which is this stuff right here. And we are going to sort of put it around, all around on here as much as we can. And then we're going to place the fabric over it carefully. We don't want to rub the fabric once it's on there. We just want to gently press onto the cardboard. And we want to lay down the Fabri-Tac real quick because it dries very fast. But we want to get up, you know, around the edges, definitely around the center here. We're going to take our fabric and we are going to gently place it over the top and just kind of press down. Now that our fabric is pressed down, we are going to flip it over and cut around the edges. And we want to leave about a ½ inch all the way around because we're going to wrap it. Okay, so to wrap it, believe it or not, you can use Elmer's glue. But what we want to do is we want to just kind of randomly start cutting around the edge, okay? Okay, so I went and got my fancy scissors to do this part because you really want to use nice scissors when you're cutting fabric. You don't want to use the scissors that you use to cut the cardboard. It just makes a nice cleaner cut. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to put some glue down and then we're going to fold it just like that. Okay. And we'll trim this right here. And glue this part. Okay, so now do you see how it's curved? And usually you want to cut along curves, but the way that I'm going to show you how to do it is you fold it, you start to fold it like this. And then do you see where that sort of like fold is right there? That's where we're going to snip it. All right. And then we're going to go down and we're going to do that again. Do you see? So we're just going to keep folding and getting that sort of crease, and then we're going to cut on that crease. And that's how we're going to get it to lay flat in the back without having these sort of, I don't know, bumps around the edge, okay? Thing to note, you're gonna get glue all over. You're gonna get glue on your fingers, okay? So be careful that when you're doing this, that you don't touch the front of the brooch with glue fingers, okay? Because then you'll wind up with glue on the front of your project. Okay, so when we get down to about this part, okay, so I've folded down all of this. This is where it gets a little tricky down at the bottom because we have this sort of little tail, and you want to have like smaller cuts around there because it's such a small area right there. So we'll just go down to the other camera and I will show you what I do. So I'm just gonna snip it right there and right there, kind of almost like if you imagine that there's, you know, like a corner in these things, just kind of snip right up to it. And then snip again, pretty close. All right, so we're just doing kind of like almost about 1/4 of an inch in this area, okay? So now I'm going to start inside, start at the bottom, and work my way around, okay? So I found this sculpting tool at like Michael's. It came in like a set, and I was super disappointed after I got it home and I tried to use it on my sculptures because it's so flimsy. But as it turns out, it works real great for other things, including gluing down fabric. So let me show you what I mean. Pro tip, glue will kind of seal any frays that want to start up. So if you see any like loose strands that are jumping out, you can just kind of lightly brush them over with some glue and that will tack them down and prevent any further fraying. Okay, so do you see how that is really kind of turning out real nice? We've got a nice curve there. So again, now we're just going to do what we did down the sides. So we'll glue it first. All right, now that we have our planchette covered in fabric and it's all folded on the back from the outside, we are going to now do the inside of this. So we're going to need our friend X-Acto blade again, okay? And I'll show you what to do. So you'll want to do another X. Cut an X into the fabric on the inside. Once you've cut the X, go ahead and cut 2 slits in each of those triangles. So now I can kind of like poke through. Do you see all that sort of loose fabric there? All right, so now we're gonna stretch it around to the back. And we're gonna do exactly what we did on the outside, but we're gonna do it around the center now as well. There we have it. Okay, now we'll go ahead and Mod Podge our little black strip, okay? Because this is what's gonna go in the center of this to make it look more finished around the edge, all right? So let's Mod Podge it to seal it. Okay, we'll leave that to dry. While that Mod Podge is drying on that black strip, I'm going to take this plastic. This is plastic that can't be recycled where I live. It's a 5. Where I live, they only recycle 1s and 2s. So this is perfect, I think, for our center glass for the planchette. So I'm going to take my scissors and just kind of cut a circle. And I mean, this plastic is so easy to come by. This is from a yogurt container. And then also, you know, I mean, if you ever buy lettuce or anything, sometimes they come in plastic containers, and you can even use that as well. I'm going to cut it so that it's just a little bit bigger. See, in the end, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to hot glue it onto the planchette, not on the front, but I'll be hot gluing it, and I don't want to see any of that hot glue, so I don't want to go too small, but I also don't want to cut it too large, and you'll see why. And it doesn't have to be like a perfect circle, guys. All right, I think that's a good size. So next, we're going to take, remember that piece of cardstock that we painted brown with kind of the brown watercolor? We want to cut it a little bit larger than the plastic that we just cut. So I'm going to trace around, and then I'm going to cut it a little bit bigger than what we see here. Because ultimately we're going to be gluing this behind the plastic, and we want it to be able to adhere to the planchette. So we'll see. I'm going to cut this and then see if it's too big. So essentially, when I take this piece and I place this over it, it still stays hidden on the back, and that's what we want. We don't want it to be larger than the back, okay? So this size is perfect. It's probably about 3/8 inches larger than the diameter of the plastic. Let's go ahead and put our message on here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take our planchette and I'm going to place it over. Okay, that's how I want it. So I'm gonna look at it from beneath and just kind of lay that flush. And then I'm going to write out my message on here in pencil. Once you have the message that you like, you go ahead and take a black artist's marker, like one of these. I'm not really sure what the technical term is for these. And just kind of outline, go over, you know, clean it up a little bit to make it how you want it to look ultimately. Now our little black strip is dry, so we'll go ahead and put it in the center of our planchette. Okay. We are going to, first of all, we're gonna go ahead and just do a quick placement roll here, just to ensure that it goes in easily. Okay. I like to connect it on the bottom of the planchette. So that fits nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue around the bottom, because we're going to come up through the bottom of the planchette. Otherwise, because if you go in from the top with glue on it, it's going to get glue all over the place, and we don't want that. All right, so we're just going to do a small bead around the bottom like that, okay? And then we're going to flip this over, and this can get a little messy, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to start on the bottom and work my way around. Now I want it to sit flush in the back, and I want it to stick up in around the top, okay? So there's like a bit of a bevel, if you will. Okay, so if you see, I'm gonna put it up close. You see how it kind of sticks out at the top? That's what we want. Underneath, we want it to sit flush, okay? Because that's where we're gonna put our plastic and our message, and we want them to lay flat against the back. All right, now that we have our bevel attached, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to attach the plastic part. We're gonna use a hot glue gun for this, okay? So pull that out, warm it up, and let's get going. Okay, so for this part, it's a little bit tricky. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our planchette and we're gonna flip it over. We've got our little plastic here to make sure that it looks nice and clean. All right, and then what we're gonna do is we want it to lay right there, okay? So we're going to take our hot glue gun, and we're just going to very, very carefully and very, like, try to go as flat as you can, because with hot glue, it kind of like, it's raised, you know? So we're going to just very lightly, like, get right up in there. We're gonna go all the way around. And you don't wanna go too close to the border, okay? Because we don't want it to peek through. And then we're gonna take this and we're just gonna press it down. Right where we want it, okay? Just very carefully. And then if you need to add a little bit more, like maybe you missed your mark, you just like get right up there, guys. All right, so you see it's not going to go through, you see? So we have our glass, and that's how you adhere it. Okay guys, so now that we have our glass on the planchette, I'm going to show you how to adhere the message onto the back of the planchette, okay? And we're going to want to revisit our dear friend Fabri-Tac. I wouldn't recommend just using regular old Elmer's glue, because I don't think it's going to hold it as well in the back, and you really want this to stick. You don't need it to be slipping down or whatever behind there. So okay, so let's do this. Fabri-Tac. I'm going to go around this edge, just right, almost like where the glue is kind of like sticking out from the hot glue gun. Just be sure you don't get any of it in the sort of like viewpoint. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to lay this down and then make sure there's no cat hair on it, flip this over and try to center it. And make sure that it's even. Okay, so I think I have it right where I want it. Okay, so now I'm just gonna press it down. Just press it on down. So next we're going to take some black felt and we're going to cut around in this shape, okay, so that we can glue it onto the back so it looks finished. So I will tell you that I wouldn't use the actual pattern that we used, just because you want it to be actually a little bit smaller around the edge. Then you don't want it to come flush to the edge. I just think it looks nicer that way. I mean, I guess you could, but I just think it looks better this way. So what I'm gonna do is lay this down like that. You know, I'll use my little scissors, my little fabric scissors, and I'm just gonna kind of like cut around, and I'm just kind of like maybe going in about 1/8 of an inch smaller than our planchette. You don't want to overcut, so just take your time with it. There, I think that looks really, really good, guys. So now we're going to use Fabri-Tac to adhere this to the back. And the reason I'm not using Elmer's is because Elmer's has a tendency to like bleed through the fabric, but Fabri-Tac doesn't do that as much. We'll glue on here. And again, when you're working with Fabri-Tac, you have to work fast. You want to get it as close to the edges as possible without it being so close that it will bleed over and make a mess. For this part, I'm just going to go on here. All right, I'd say that's good. All right, we'll flip this over and start pressing it in. Be careful with your glue fingers, guys. Don't get your glue all over, okay? All right, and there we have it, our finished back. So now we're going to add a ribbon border. On this one I have a pink ribbon border, but on this one I think I'm going to do black. And I'll show you how to do that. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you. It's very time consuming. But it really makes it look great. But you could even just stop there. You could just stop there if you want to. You don't have to keep going. But I will show you how to do the ribbon in case that's something that you're interested in doing, because I personally am a huge fan of ruffles. I love them. Okay, so I have a nice long piece of thread, okay, because we want to make sure that it goes all the way around. And then I like to use seam binding ribbon for this project. It's one of my favorite kinds of ribbons to work with, actually. So I'm just going to get this started by folding it over so that it has a nice clean edge. We're going to start on the bottom and connect it right in there, okay, right on the very edge. So we're just gonna go through the fabric. Sorry, it's really not as difficult as I'm making it look. And we're just gonna kind of like ruffle. All right, so did you see what I did? I took it and I folded it like that, okay? And then I'm going to stitch through and just pick up right at the edge, okay? Just right at the edge, guys. And we're just stitching that ruffle right on, okay? So now I'm gonna go back through the center of the ribbon, okay? Back through the center of the ribbon, just like this. Perfect. And then I'm going to fold another ruffle, okay? Fold that ruffle. And then I'm going to put my thread through that ruffle. Perfect. And then I'm gonna stitch it on. Okay, we put it right through the fabric again. And again, we're just sticking to the edge. We're just sticking to the edge, like that. Perfect. So we're just going to continue doing that all the way around, and then we will reconvene when that's all done. Okay guys, so about an hour and lots of swear words later, we have our border, a ruffle border around the pin. Okay, so now I'm going to add a little, a little bat detail, and maybe like I have this purple ribbon. So let's do that, and then we'll go ahead and add the pin back onto our brooch. Okay. So I have a little bit of this purple ribbon, and I thought it would look really cute with this color scheme. So I'm going to just kind of make a little bow. We have a winner. So now we're just gonna kind of like tug at it to try to make it even. And the reason I decided to use a different color ribbon than black is because when I attach the black bat onto the ribbon, I want it to really show. If you put black on black, it's really not going to show as well, guys. So I'm just going to snip. We're going to make the little sort of triangle on the bottom. And it just kind of helps to keep it from fraying. There we go. All right. So there's our ribbon. So we're gonna adhere it right there. And then the other thing that I have is I've got these, I don't know if they're like vintage toothpicks or what, but I found them at an antique mall, and they're little bats. I would use the kind of bat that I have on here right now. I used like a bat ring, but the thing is that it's the only good one that I have. All the other ones are like really messed up, so they won't look good on a brooch. So I'm gonna use some wire cutters, and I'm just gonna cut off that toothpick part like that. If you'll notice on the back of this toothpick, it's kind of like shiny and slick. And when I try to attach hot glue to that, I don't think it's gonna stick very well. So my fabulous aunt and uncle gifted me with this engraving Dremel tool for the holidays. And I'm just gonna kind of score the back. And it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. We're just trying to create surface for it to adhere to. Now, the pin that I'm wearing right now with the bat ring, I did not score the back of that because it wasn't as flat and shiny, okay? If that makes sense. All right, so let's go ahead and head over to the hot glue gun and we'll finish this project up. So now that our hot glue gun is all heated up, we are going to take our little bow and just add just a quick little bead to the back, okay? Not too much. We don't want to go crazy. It's going to peek out a little bit, I'm not going to lie. All right, and we're going to go down here and we're going to attach it kind of like at the center. And then by hot gluing it, you're really going to adhere the bow to itself, okay? So you don't have to worry about it coming undone because that hot glue is going to seep right through a couple of layers of that. So it's going to hold it in place. So you don't have to worry about that. Now on the bat, I want to decide where I want it to be. So I want it exactly directly above the center of the bow. So I'm going to take this side that I scored, remember, and I'm going to put a bead right in the center. Oof. There we go. And then we are going to flip it and put it right on there. I'm going to hold it in place. I'd say that's done on the front. So now let's go ahead and attach the pin back to the backing. Okay, so we're going to flip this over. I like to make it so that the pin can open on the bottom like that. Okay, I want to put it right about here, I think. So I'm just going to put a quick little bead across. Doesn't have to be too much. And then I'm going to just stick that right on there. Make sure that it's even. So everybody is attached. We are looking good. And we are ready to wear. All right, guys. Now that we've completed our fabric one, I'm going to show you how to make the paper one. So this is the one I'm talking about. Okay, the one that, like I said before, was inspired by Practical Magic. So we'll make another one very similar to this. So to begin, what I did was I went ahead and I cut out my planchette on the corrugated cardboard just like last time. All right, and then the only thing that I did differently was once I cut that out, rather than putting fabric over it, I took a book, which I got this book at like a thrift store, and I'm actually very selective about the kinds of books that I use in my artwork. Maybe that sounds crazy, but I'm not just gonna use any old literature or, you know, newsprint on my artwork. It has to be something special. So this is, I've actually never read this, but I do know that Mary Stuart is kind of like a gothic writer. And so I really, when I saw that she had a book at the thrift store, I was like, this is what I'm going to use for this project. Because I feel like there's a bit of magic in everything that you make. And I feel like if you're going to go all in, you got to go all in. Don't go halfway. All right, so anyways, so what I did was I tore out some pages and I tore some strips up, okay? And then I Mod Podged some pages from the book onto, let me cover my face, onto this planchette. Now, one side, as you can see, is not as good as the other side, and that's okay, because one side's the back and one side's the front. Now, the thing that I really like about the paper ones is I don't have to do that insert on these, I don't feel like. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We are going to get a little bit of brown paint, And we're just gonna kind of like lightly brush it over, maybe water it down a little bit. But what we wanna do is we just wanna make it look aged a bit, okay? All right, so we're just gonna take a little of the light brown from before and just kind of lightly brush it on. All right. So once we've brushed it all around, we have this sort of aged look to it. Next, we are going to take some paper mache tissue, or, you know, it's just regular tissue, but this is what I set aside for my paper mache. Now, I'm going to use the same tissue paper that I used like in the last video because I love that so much, and it looks so pretty. So now I'm going to take my little pieces and we're gonna use some Mod Podge. So let's go ahead and just kind of like tear it up a little bit. We want it to be random. And the other thing that I love about this tissue is that you'll be able to see, once I adhere it, you'll be able to see right through. You'll see some of those words. And I'm gonna brush it directly onto the planchette. And then we're gonna go over it. Next, we're going to add a little more aging, just do a little more layering. I have a darker brown. I'm taking this burnt umber. I am just gonna kind of lightly brush around the edges. And we're dry brushing, guys. We're not putting it on, you know, super thick. We're just giving it a little bit of, you know, extra texture and aging. And just kind of blend it, you know, just blend it on there. And I'm gonna do maybe a little bit extra in the center. All right, so there we are, shaded around the center and the outer edge. Now I'm gonna come through with some green. This is just evergreen paint. All right, guys, my camera phone just told me that it's out of storage. So I'm going to continue on just looking at you. Okay, so I got myself a little bit of green, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my piece and just very lightly put some on there and then just like rub it off. Okay, so we just want a little bit, and you can do it as dark as you want. I'm also going to maybe blend a little bit of brown into my green. In fact, I might do a little dark brown so it looks a little, I don't know, like a little more woodsy, less spring green, more woodsy green. Okay, that's a lot of green. So we're just doing it real subtle. We don't need it. We're just looking for accents. Okay, so now I feel like that one spot is too green, so I'm gonna come back over with some brown. Okay, usually if you mess up, it's not irreversible. You can usually do something to at least cover it up or make it look better. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna do a little bit more. I think I wanna do a little bit more around maybe the edge of the hole. So I'm just gonna do that. All right, so maybe you can't really see it very well, but I came in and did like around there, okay? Like around the inside. All right, I'm gonna see about unloading my phone so that I can continue to show you actually what I'm doing. All right, see you soon. All right, guys, I've unloaded my phone and we are back in business. Next, I'm going to add some glitter and some, like, this is like a, I don't know, like a shimmer sort of. I just feel like it makes it a little magical. All right, I'm gonna start with the shimmer. Just give it a good shake. And then I'm just gonna randomly brush it on. I'm not too worried about where. Do you know what? I thought I had my camera on, but I didn't. All right, so I'm gonna add some glitter now. I've added my shimmer, now I'm gonna add my glitter. And I'm just gonna do it at random. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see the shimmers. Here we go. So now while that's drying, let's take a look at our message that we want to do. Okay, so again, we're gonna take our plastic lid and we are going to cut our little circle that's gonna go inside the hole, okay? There we go. And then we'll cut a little bit wider than that. And I want it to be so that it looks like the wood grain is kind of going horizontal. Looks good. Guys, my stomach just growled really loud. You probably heard that. So we're just going to, again, just lightly write on our message. That fits in there real good. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over it with my artist marker or artist ink pen or whatever you want to call it. Conjure. I don't know, guys. Maybe I could have used like a smaller ink pen on that. Oh well. Now that this is dry, I'm going to actually use some matte varnish and seal it. And the reason I'm using matte varnish instead of Mod Podge is because I feel like matte varnish doesn't wind up getting tacky. Like, I feel like when, you know, when it's very humid or sometimes just after time, Mod Podge can become quite tacky in texture, and we don't want that. I mean, fuzz will stick to it. It's not pretty, guys. So I'm using this Liquitex Basics Acrylic Matte Varnish. It's my favorite matte varnish, you guys. I feel like it works really well on sculptures. It doesn't leave that tacky feeling that I was just talking about. And also, like, if you use like a gloss, I just feel like it just looks, I just don't like the look of gloss things, you know? It looks like it's plasticky. So this varnish is just gonna seal it. We're gonna get around the edges and also a little bit on the back. Now don't forget with the back, we're gonna be attaching a bunch of stuff, so we don't really have to go crazy on the back. We just wanna bring it in a little bit on the edges. All right, now I'm just gonna wait for that to dry. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I will go ahead and Mod Podge my conjure. And I am doing both front and back of conjure with Mod Podge. So it's like plasticky. It just gives it a little extra protection. Just kind of at random. Towards the bottom. Okay, looks good. All right, once that's dry, we will continue on. All right, guys, once again, we are going to go ahead and cut our felt for the backing. While everything's drying, we might as well go ahead and make the best of our time. We've got our backing cut. Now, let's go ahead and head over to the hot glue gun station. Get these things attached. Okay, same as before. We are going to use our Fabri-Tac to attach our message to the planchette. So we're going to go onto the back, and we will put some Fabri-Tac down right over where the hot glue is. All right, we've affixed our message onto our pin. Now, while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and take some embroidery thread and a crochet hook, the smallest one that I have, which is a 1.5 millimeter. And I'm going to start crocheting a border for my brooch. I'm just going to create a little slip knot. Like and then we're just going to do like a single crochet. We have our slip knot, our crochet. We just come around once and then pull it through. And we just keep doing that and just kind of create like a chain that will go all the way around. So it kind of almost looks like a vine. All right, so I'm going to continue on with this off camera, and when we get to the end, so I'm basically just going to make it so that it fits all the way around, okay? And then we will come back after that. Okay, so I have finished crocheting my vine. Here it is. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac to attach the vine onto the outer edge of our planchette. I made it longer than the outer edge of this planchette. And we're just going to go a little bit at a time, because this stuff is really messy. And we're taking it right up to that point there, okay? The little tail. And Fabri-Tac is very messy, guys. So be careful when you're using it on this. So now we've got these little tails, And what we're gonna do with them is we're gonna go ahead and just snip. And we will glue. Just using a little Elmer's glue. We'll go ahead and brush that on to adhere it. Now this one I kind of want to go around the front a little bit. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. You'll see here that the vine kind of crosses over in the front. All right, do you see that? Now we're going to attach our felt onto the back of our planchette. There's the back. And here's the front of our brooch. Now I'm just gonna turn on the hot glue gun, and then that way we can go ahead and attach that pin back and we'll be finished. So again, we'll just do a little line. Just like that. There we go. You can see it shimmer. Beautiful. Okay, everyone, so here they are in all their finished glory. Let me give a couple close-ups just so you can have one more gander at them. Whew, we've been productive today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are planning on making one yourself, do let me know in the comments below. I would love to know. And then also, if you felt like this video was worthwhile for you and you enjoyed it, please consider giving a like or subscribe just so that other spooky babes might be able to find it as well. And then they might want to do the project. So I would truly appreciate that. Also, if you love the brooches, but you're just not really into doing DIY yourself, I did want to let you know that I will have a handful of these in my shop. And my shop is Forever Fall on Etsy. That's www.foreverfall.etsy.com. And I guess until next time, have a perfectly magical day, everyone. Bye for now.